Where is the purpose in life? Where is the happiness in life? True happiness. Where is the value in life? What makes you different as a human being than, say, for example, a table or a chair? What makes you different?
Well, there are a number of things that differentiate me as a human being from a chair or a table. The first that comes to mind being my sentience. I have a sense of self, and with that autonomy, I can express, I can act, I can desire. A chair and a table can do none of these things. Have you ever held a conversation with a chair? Felt emotionally comforted by a chair? Seen a chair desire? No. So clearly there are differences there which you're just completely ignoring and pretending that we're all the same because we're made of the same stuff. That's not how it works.
Think about, on an atheist worldview, the chair is made of what? Matter, but matter, atoms, molecules. The human being is made of what? Physically. Same stuff. Matter, physical stuff. There is no difference according to their worldview. There is no value. There is no meaning. There is no purpose. There is nothing. You deny Allah and you just void yourself of all of these realities.
So because there is a shared quality between a chair and a person in the fact that, in spite of what a person believes, both objects consist of matter and energy, that proves only in one so-called worldview that there is no difference and therefore life has no meaning. You believing in Allah without evidence doesn't change that, nor the actual existence of Allah. If Islam were true, would we as people no longer consist of matter and energy? No. So how are you spared the exact same conclusion? I imagine you'll say that you take your meaning from elsewhere, i.e. Allah, or the existence of some unproven supernatural aspect to our universe. But if you can take meaning from things in spite of you consisting of the same matter and energy as a table, why can't I? The fact is, I do just that. I take meaning from the fact that I am a human who desires to improve the world for future generations, no magic needed. All you have done here is state that a shared quality cannot be used for purposes of differentiation, not that differentiation requires a God.
Think about happiness. Let's think about this for a second, right? Imagine, and this is the atheist perspective, imagine you fall asleep right now, you get really, really bored and you fall asleep, for example, yeah? And you wake up, and the next thing you see, you wake up and you're on a plane. Think about this, you're on a plane, and the plane is flying. And you're sitting on the chair, but the plane is flying. What's the first questions that are going to come into your mind? How did I get here? I was in the masjid in Huddersfield, and now I'm on a plane. But then suddenly you start to notice the comfort of your chair. You notice it's very, very comfortable. And then you look out of the window and you see this beautiful view. The mountains, the Alps maybe, sun is setting, it looks very beautiful. And then you start to enjoy the view. And then as you're enjoying the view, the air steward comes and brings you this platter, 5-star food right in front of you, just places it in front of you, right? And you start to enjoy these things temporarily. But let me ask you brothers a question. Would you truly be happy in that situation if you don't have the answer to those fundamental questions you asked first? How did I get here? Who put me here? And where am I going? We won't truly be happy. You may be distracted, but you won't be truly happy.
But they are, because they are following their desires.
Yeah, but this is the distraction. The food on the table, the beautiful scenery, these are distractions that they have.
Again, I'm just sick of your pretense that you have the slightest idea as to what I would think as an atheist, not to mention your half-assed analogies. And I say yours when really this is one that's been kicking around iERA for a long time. That analogy is nothing like life as an atheist. For a start, we have the problem of prior knowledge. In your analogy, you say that we fell asleep and then woke up. We have knowledge of all these things surrounding us. We have knowledge of such things as kidnapping. We've been taught the facts that things are rarely given and most often come with a price. The first thing I'm going to do is freak the fuck out as my flight and fight response kicks in. But on the other hand, if I woke up with no knowledge of anything, I could likely be very content until a time that I felt pain from such a thing as hunger or thirst, as I had no knowledge of either eating or drinking. But once I had learnt these things, whilst I may be curious about my origins, they would not be my sole source of happiness. Hopefully, there would be other people on the plane for one. But the point I'm making is this. The analogy you are using is so deeply flawed that once we take into account the stuff that does not exist in life, your central point crumbles. So please learn from this and stop claiming that this is what life for an atheist is like, or even worse, this is what the worldview of atheism says. Just cut that shit out and let us speak for ourselves.
And this is why even atheists, when something hits them, when there's a calamity in life, something goes wrong, that's when they realize, they stop and think, you know what, there has to be more to this. There has to be more to this.
What do you mean by more than this? I mean, I assume you're on about the bullshit passage in the Qur'an chapter 31 verse 32, which asserts that everyone calls out to Allah in times of need, yet many then deny Him once the danger has passed. This claim is a common one among religions and is why we have phrases like "there are no atheists in foxholes" and countless fairy tales of bedside conversions. The religious use said straw men to make them feel superior to atheists in pretending that atheists actually believe, they just deny God. All it actually amounts to, meanwhile, is a bloated lie that falsifies the Quran's apparent divine origin.
But according to their worldview, there is nothing. There is no true happiness.
Citation needed. Something you can only give after defining which non-theistic worldview, as there is no singular atheist worldview.
Because these questions about purpose, where have I come from, where am I going, what's the purpose of life, is a question even atheists have. Because these questions are built into our nature. Allah has placed these within the human nature to help us. It's His mercy to help us, lead us to Him. Many people are very good at suppressing them, but some aren't. But eventually, somehow they come forward. Right? So, from a rational perspective, atheism makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. It's hocus pocus, basically. What they're claiming is irrational and illogical.
Okay, and when are you going to demonstrate that? Because so far, all you've laid down is assertion after assertion. So, when do you start to bring out the reasoning behind being rational?
Think about this. Think about another thing.
No. Can we please stick to what you have just asserted? You do this all the time. You just fire assertion after assertion, restate your conclusion, then move on. You don't carry out any sort of analysis. You're just a lying fucknut.
When the atheist comes to you and he asks you, give me evidence for God's existence. Prove to me God exists. What is he employing? What's he using? What's up here? His aql, his intellect, his rational faculties, right? Now, ask him a simple question. Okay, Mr. Atheist, I'll address you. But hold on a second. When you ask me the question about God's existence, you are assuming that you have the ability, if I give you an answer, you have the ability to process what I say and try to understand the truth of it, right? Because if you give him an answer, he will process it and he will decide whether he accepts it or not. Okay? Where did he get this ability from? Our rational faculties are ordered. There's a process that takes place up here, and it leads us to truth. We have the ability to attain truth as human beings.
We evolved a brain and have spent millennia honing in on the philosophical techniques for discovering truth. This is nothing we were supplied with. It is something we've developed through trial and error. By your argument, the philosophy of thought and epistemology should not exist. We should have just been there right from the start, and yet, as you are evidence of, nobody is born with decent reasoning skills. Hey, many like you will die without them. If the case were otherwise, then you wouldn't be making this assertion right here.
On atheism, ask him, what is truth?
That which can be demonstrated with evidence reasoning to within a reasonable degree of certainty.
They don't have a definition of truth.
Also see the opposite to what this line fucknut says. I just gave a definition of truth. It's one that's been around for a long time, yet is not the only definitions on offer. However, secular philosophy has tackled this question many times, so you really have no excuse.
They don't. Morality.
What, really? You're not even going to press the point? Yikes. This is the intellectual equivalent to turning up to your manager's job with vomit and kebab still stuck in your beard and, by Allah, what everyone hopes was once spilt milk staining your tracky bottoms. I had absolutely no idea that even you had fallen this low. I genuinely think Imran just wants to leave iERA but has no job skills elsewhere, so is just stuck in a job they absolutely hate.
Brothers, think about this. As human, even atheists claim to be humanists.
No, I am a humanist. I don't claim to be anything. I hold to the secular principles of innate human value and ethics, reasoned evidence as a guide to truth, and high-quality education as the emancipator of every human. Ergo, I am a humanist.
And for me, that's a contradiction. Okay, think about this. Recently, I'll tell you a very interesting story. Me and Brother Mohsin, we went to Speaker's Corner, but we don't go inside speak. I tried to stay out of it now because it could get very aggressive sometimes. The discussions, it becomes pointless, right? It becomes debate, arguments, and just wasteful discussion. So we found a brother there, atheist guy. We took him out, we took him to a coffee shop. We sat down, started a discussion with him, right? First thing he said, look, for me it's about how I feel. I don't feel Islam. I don't feel it. And look at the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows these people. Yeah, wallahi, this was amazing. For me, it was a sign. He said, I don't feel it. I said, okay. We had a discussion about truth. He couldn't really define truth. And he was making all of these ideas about truth. He said truth is relative to what's, to what's physically observable and all of these sort of strange ideas, yeah?
Yeah, we get it. You did that really shitty Ray Comfort thing of picking some random person off the street who had identified themselves as an atheist, and you're about to present them as the shining epitome of the, quote, atheist worldview. I've seen this stupid trick 1,000 times, and I'll likely see it 1,000 times more. It really is telling how the religious have to hunt for the one or two atheists who don't know their shit to use in their examples. So let's just get this over and done with.
And I said to him, okay, let me ask you a question. Are there moral truths? Meaning, are there things that are objectively morally wrong?
As a humanist, yes. From that agreed humanist anchor point which offers innate human value, we could, in theory, divide every action into moral and immoral. So I'm going to say yes for my answer, though I assume this person is about to disagree.
He said, I don't believe in morality.
So there we have it. Out of the two atheists in conversation, so myself and this other atheist from Speaker's Corner who may or may not even exist, already we have two very different answers. And do note, Imran knows my answer as we've discussed this topic in the past, so he knows for a fact that this random person from Speaker's Corner does not stand for all of us, and neither do I. Yet I can almost guarantee that at no point through this conversation will Imran acknowledge this fact, as it will destroy their entire argument.
I don't believe there are moral truths. So I said, wow, that's interesting. So if I said to you, killing an innocent child, is that objectively, is that wrong or right? I mean, every human being will say it's wrong. Yeah? Even the atheist will say it's wrong.
Since infanticide has existed throughout history, that's not true. It's objectively wrong as someone who subscribes to the humanist philosophy, which puts value in my fellow human being. But that standard being objective from its anchoring point does not then mean that everyone accepts that anchor. Now you may say that this means that said morality isn't objective. Okay, well, I don't hold to child rape to be moral as the Hadiths and indeed your very Prophet did when he first married a 6-year-old girl and then raped her age 9. Does that then mean that the morality of Islam and of Allah is not objective either because I reject it? The better question is, how do you differentiate your morality from mine? Simply slapping God on it is no different than slapping the name of any dictator on it, save for the fact that dictators exist and your deity does not.
But he was trying to be clever. He said, no, you know what? I don't believe in morality. I said, fine, you don't believe in morality. I said, okay, if someone came to you, and I had to use a crude example. I said, if someone went to your mother tonight and slapped your mother across the face, how would you feel? Shouldn't make a difference. You don't believe in moral truths. There's no right or wrong. He got angry. He started to swear. Yeah, he started to get really angry. I said, hold on a second, but you don't believe there's morality. And he was so frustrated. I said, look, you know what's happening? Your fitra, your nature is screaming at one thing, but here you're trying to justify something else. You're living a contradiction. And this is what they do. They live a contradiction.
Okay, what contradiction am I living? Point to me where I have contradicted myself. What likely happened in this conversation was they detected your deceptive usage of objective moral truth, which, when used for Islam, allowed for perception to play a part, i.e. the perception of your prophet and perhaps the perception of some unproven deity. You then shifted this definition to exclude that perception, and from your secondary definition, they answered. But either way, how does one person's ignorance prove you right? It's not a case of, if I'm wrong, you're right. That's just how toddlers think and no one else. They could simply be wrong. Hell, we as a species could all be wrong about every answer ever supplied, and that would still not validate the existence of some unproven deity as the source for morality. Got to say it again, you really done goofed this up, you lying fucknut.
All we have to do, brothers, is point these things out to them. Point these things out to them. They don't like to talk about these things because they can't make sense of these things. They may claim we're moral. Some things are right. Sometimes they come to Muslims and say, look, your tradition says this. I disagree with this. This is wrong. Ask them, okay, you think it's objectively wrong? Do you believe in objective morality? They'll get stuck because they don't have an anchor. There is no anchor for them. Remember, what's in the beginning of atheism? Their philosophy. Blind, random, dead physical processes. That's it. Where are you going to get morality from that? Where are you going to get truth from that? Where do these concepts come from? It doesn't make sense. So before they even try to argue against Islam, ask them, look, justify these tools that you're using. These are blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you're using, and then you're trying to deny Allah.
No, you assert that they're a blessing from Allah. Prove that fact. Prove it. Demonstrate it. Don't just assert it. You just presuppose that you're correct and you're working off the premise that we have to disprove your position, when no, you have to prove your position to some basic degree. That's something you failed to do since the dawn of your religion, and is why you have been butchered repeatedly for your ignorance on the topics. It's like a philosophical game of peekaboo where Imran, Hussein and the rest of iERA operate under the basis that if they're too pig-headed to learn about a topic, then nobody can actually understand that topic. They believe their ignorance to be the ignorance of all people, and thankfully that's not the case. We have anchors, ones not reliant on magic like yours. I suggest you learn to live with that fact, because if you don't, you're going to be rather unhappy. Well, hello there. I just wanted to say a few things here at the end of the video. First, I'd like to thank everyone who has ever donated to the channel via Patreon, giving a special thanks to the following people: Hannah Banghart, Trevor Matheson, Andrew Spreitzer, Matthew Kovac, John Schonock, Alexander Williams, and Daniel Martinez. Your support has ensured this channel its ability to grow over the years, and for that we are truly thankful. I'd also like to ask that you comment down below and like this video, as well as subscribe and follow Essence of Thought on Facebook and YouTube. Please also consider following Atheist Alliance International on Facebook, an organisation dedicated to helping atheists around the globe. Lastly, I'd like to request that you treat the people responded to in the video with a reasonable degree of respect. Whilst we understand that there are justifiable limits to respect when tackling certain heavy topics, and anger can be a very genuine emotion in tackling injustice, any comments utilising language which hurts others on the basis of their perceived gender, sexuality, ethnicity and ability, both physical and mental, will be removed immediately and the commenter may be blocked on the moderator's discretion. Let's keep this space a humanist space for everyone. Thank you.